Welcome to FactorIt Media, where bold ideas, history, and culture collide. Tonight, we're not just diving into a debate. We're opening a portal to a whole new way of thinking, where the most powerful voices of the past come face to face with today's biggest questions. Whether you're here for the culture, the history, or the impact of these timeless ideas, you won't want to miss what's coming. Every moment is a chance to challenge your perspective, and we promise you'll walk away with a new understanding. So stick around as we bring you the intellectual showdown of the century. Grab your seat, get comfortable, and prepare for a debate that will leave you questioning everything. Now let's join Nyla as we get this conversation started. This is FactorIt Media.
Welcome to the first episode of The Great Debate, where we bring some of the most influential figures in history to face off and see whose ideas stand the test of time. I'm your host, Neela, and today we're diving into a battle of ideas between two giants, W.E.B. Du Bois and John Locke. On one side, we have W.E.B. Du Bois, a leading intellectual in the fight for civil rights and equality for Black Americans. He was one of the first to challenge the idea that Black people were inherently inferior, and he argued that true social change could only come through an educated, intellectual elite guiding the way. On the other side, we have John Locke, a philosopher whose ideas helped shape modern liberal democracies. Locke believed in natural rights, the idea that every person is born with certain fundamental rights: life, liberty, and property. These ideas became the foundation for much of the thinking that shaped Western governments, including the United States. But here's the question: do Locke's ideas about individual freedom apply equally to everyone? Or do we need Du Bois's focus on leadership and intellectual empowerment to actually break the chains of oppression? Let the debate begin.
Thank you, Nyla. It's an honor to be here today. Let's be clear. The issue we're discussing is not just theory. It's life or death for millions of people. I've spent my life fighting against the notion that Black people were inherently inferior, and the core of that fight lies in the idea of intellectual liberation. I'm not just advocating for a select few. I'm advocating for the freedom of an entire race, and that freedom must come through education, leadership, and empowerment. It's the only way to truly break free from the shackles of systemic oppression. Now, Locke's ideas about natural rights are idealistic, but in a world where oppression runs deep, where a person's very humanity is denied based on the color of their skin, those rights become hollow. Locke speaks of freedom and property, but what good are these rights if you've been denied them from birth? What use is freedom when your very existence is marginalized?
Mr. Du Bois, I understand the depth of your passion, but your vision of freedom is rooted in something dangerous: elitism. You argue for intellectual leadership, but what about the rights of those who may never have access to that education? Are their voices less valuable because they haven't been chosen for leadership? My philosophy stands for the inherent rights of all individuals, regardless of their position in society. Every person, whether educated or not, has the right to life, liberty, and property. Now, your argument suggests that only a few can lead the way, but that implies a system where those at the top control the lives of everyone else. The problem with that is, it mirrors the very systems of oppression you claim to fight against. How can you claim to break chains when you're reinforcing another kind of hierarchy? I believe in empowering the individual, giving every person the equal opportunity to exercise their rights, to decide their future for themselves.
Now the gloves are off. The tension is palpable. Du Bois, you believe that the struggle is intellectual, that true freedom requires not only legal recognition, but also an educated intellectual elite to guide the way. But Locke, you argue that freedom is for everyone, and that it's the system itself that needs to change, giving every individual the opportunity to take their destiny into their own hands. This brings us to an important turning point. Du Bois, can you answer this? Doesn't empowering a select group of intellectuals create a new elite, which in turn creates its own version of the same oppression you're fighting against? Isn't that a form of division in itself?
Let me be clear, Nyla. It is not about creating a new elite for the sake of power. It's about creating leaders who can uplift the masses. You cannot lead from the ground when you don't have the knowledge to fight back against those who have built their empires on the backs of the oppressed. The truth is, for Black Americans to gain true equality, we need an educated, intellectual class to help lead the charge for systemic change. Locke's system assumes that everyone starts at the same starting line, but the reality is that the system is rigged. You can't tell me that an oppressed community can simply rise from nothing and make the leap to true freedom without intellectual and social guidance. You may call it elitism, but I call it survival.
But you miss the point, Mr. Du Bois. The very idea that some are more worthy of freedom than others is precisely the problem. If we focus on elevating just a few people, we are perpetuating the same oppressive systems that deny freedom to those who aren't in the intellectual elite. My vision is for equality. Freedom is not meant to be a privilege for the few. It is a right for everyone. My ideas aren't abstract or theoretical. They are the very foundation of liberty and justice. For us to build a truly free society, we must create a system where everyone has access to the same opportunities, to the same education, and to the same rights. It is only then that true freedom can be realized for all, not just for those who are deemed worthy by a select few.
The debate is heating up. Du Bois, you're calling for intellectual leadership to drive the revolution, believing that a select few can lead the way. Locke, you believe in equal opportunity, where the individual's rights come first. But here's the big question. Can true freedom exist when inequality is baked into the system? Can we ever really be free if we're constantly fighting an uneven battle from the start? And let's take it a step further. What do you both say about the modern world? Are we living in the system that Locke envisioned, or are we still fighting for the kind of leadership that Du Bois championed? Can these two ideas ever coexist, or are they fundamentally at odds with each other?
This isn't just about ideas anymore. It's about the survival of a people who've been denied everything. Locke's vision is beautiful, but it's naive. It fails to account for the depths of oppression that have been built into every structure of society. We need leadership, we need intellectual empowerment, and we need it now. Without it, we remain at the mercy of a system that has already proven it will not give us equality, no matter how many rights Locke promises on paper.
I will not stand by and let you suggest that freedom can only be for those who have access to elite circles. The very idea that some must lead while others follow goes against everything I stand for. Freedom is not for the privileged few, it's for the many. We must build a system where anyone, regardless of background, can rise on their own merits. This is the foundation of equality, and until we truly treat all men as equals, we will never know the meaning of true freedom.
And there it is, both sides giving it their all. We've reached the height of the debate, and the tension is undeniable. Du Bois calls for a system of intellectual leadership, while Locke advocates for a society where equality is guaranteed for all. But here's the ultimate question that we're left with. Can freedom ever be truly equal if the system itself isn't designed to allow that? Are we fighting for the right kind of leadership, or are we fighting for the equality that allows every individual to lead? We'll leave that to you, our audience, to decide. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the ideas that shape our world. Thanks for tuning in to The Great Debate. See you next time.